going on? Welcome back to Rev Hard Garage. This is going to be part 4 of the Trailblazer SS build, the 2008 Trailblazer SS. So now what we're going to be doing is looking at the transmission. And I'm getting ready to hang it up. I went ahead and pulled the bell housing off, pulled the torque converter out, all that good stuff. For you guys paying attention, I kind of straightened the shop up a little bit, you know, as much as I can at the moment, but yeah, it's looking a little better. You can see the floor, mostly. It's a big improvement. So when you're in a tight space like this, I mean, it's not super tight, but when you're doing a big project like this, you know, it's kind of hard to stay organized because there's just so much stuff, you know. So I mean, you can see, this is an example. This is all parts off of this truck. This is the wiring harness minus the pressure washer. You know, so all this stuff goes to it. AC compressor, you know, so it's just, you know, sometimes it gets a little tricky, you know, trying to keep everything straight, but, you know, we get it done, So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting this transmission up in the air. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of, you know, coverage on the transmission. I've done several transmission videos. So I'm probably just gonna time lapse a few things, and you know, if I find anything crazy in the transmission, you know, I'll show you guys that. But otherwise, you know, there'll probably be a little bit of time lapse me pulling it apart, putting it together, you know, putting some of these parts in it, and then I'm gonna be getting it mated up to the engine, get the wiring harness and everything put back on, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and slide it right back into the Trailblazer. So I'll show you guys a couple things I got here. I didn't dig everything out yet, like clutches and you know, some other stuff, but I've got a heavy duty sunshell. Got that band that I like to use. This is a heat treated Raybestos Pro Series wideband. It's 2.6 inch, and got a 2-wheel drive output shaft. Got another tail shaft housing, 2-wheel drive, dual cage sprag, filter. This is the servo kit. This is the fourth gear servo, 4th apply, and that's got your billet cover and 4th apply piston and everything. And then this is the 2nd apply, and I didn't realize it had tape on it. I don't know why it would have tape on it, but she do. Boy, howdy. Alright, so this is the 2nd apply, and it's a much, you know, there's a lot more stuff in this one, but you got all your shims and spacers and your piston and all that good stuff, spring. So gonna get all this stuff put in here. I've actually tried several different servos, and this is by far the best one that money can buy. I'm not saying that it's the best value for your money. I'm saying this is the best, period. It's my opinion, you know, take it as you will. But you know, this is way more affordable than like the Sonex, you know, super hold servo, and it works way better. It's a lot smoother. It fits better. You know, it's just, if you're gonna go with a billet servo setup at all, this is your guy right here. The K012 and the K034 is the 4th apply, and you can have both of these for probably around $125. And the Sonex super hold servo kits, you know, mostly around 200 to 250, somewhere in that area, and they're problematic, so I would stay away from those. But anyway, gonna go ahead and get this stuff going, and I'll catch back up with you guys in a little bit. engine ready. Just figured I'd show you this real quick. Got everything put back on the engine. Wiring, transmission lines, fuel lines, compressor, engine mounts, everything. You see the 2-wheel drive conversion on the transmission. Got him a new output shaft, speed sensor, tail shaft housing. So everything's looking good. I'm gonna get ready to stab it in the truck. So I'll mention a couple of things. When you're dropping the engine back into the truck, if you've got headers, you're going to definitely want to put the passenger side header in as you're lowering the engine down. So basically when you get the engine down to a certain point, you know, you need to go ahead and slide that in there and you know, start a couple bolts on it. That way when you sit the engine down into the engine mounts, it's already in. The driver's side is not usually a problem, but even so, I still do the driver's side when I'm doing the passenger side one, because it's just easy. But you know, if you've done headers on these before, then you know the passenger side one is not going in without, you know, picking the engine up or doing some pretty major work. So definitely make sure and put it in as you're dropping the engine down. And the other thing, you know, as far as like taking the wire harness off with the engine, or out of the truck with the engine and everything, you know, your starter wires and everything are down here, and your crankshaft sensors back in that little hole back there. And you know, if you were trying to get all this stuff off, like it's really not that difficult to get most everything off. But when you get down to this area, that's really where the problem comes in. So it's just really easy, you know, to do it this way. You know, when I put the harness back on, I started with the starter, you know, and then I just started working the harness around, got everything where it goes. And you know, got the grounds bolted on over here. Crank sensors plugged in. You do not want to forget the crank sensor. Like, just don't, because you can barely, it's a workout getting to that thing. So make sure that you plug the crank sensor in. But you know, I got the transmission wires all put in place, and fuel lines, brackets and everything bolted back down, and vent line and all that good stuff. So you know, all this stuff will plug in on the intake manifold and everything else. So it looks like a mess right now, but it's actually, you know, really simple to organize all that stuff once it's in the truck. So anyway, I'm gonna get the truck pushed in here and go ahead and get started putting this engine in. Alright guys, getting the oil system primed up right quick. I've gone over this a couple times also, but I figured I would show you guys again. So I'm just using my Motive power bleeder. It's a brake system bleeder. And I basically made a custom adapter to screw into the side of the block right there. And you know, so every time I do any kind of build, like even a cam swap or something, I always just prime the oil system. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to fill up the entire oil system, like even the crank and the lifter valley, and you know, to pump up the lifters and everything. It even primes the pump. So this is always a good thing to do whenever you do a build. You can make sure that the oil system's primed. You don't have to worry about dry starting it or anything. And to me, on the LS engine, this is probably the most critical thing you can do when you put together a new engine, is to prime the oil system. So just figured I'd show you guys that right quick. Alright guys, transmission cross members in, transmission mount, all that good stuff. So now I've got this 2-wheel drive aluminum drive shaft. This is actually my spare drive shaft for my Pro-Charge Trailblazer. And you know, the one I ordered hasn't shown up yet. Shipping's terrible right now. I've got several things that have been missing in the, you know, mail for, I don't know, probably 2 weeks or more. So but anyway, we're gonna get this one done. So I actually had to borrow another part from our truck too that hasn't shown up. That was the spacer mount for the transmission for 2-wheel drive. So it's all right though. You know, my truck's gonna be sitting for a while. So anyway, I grabbed this guy off the shelf. We're gonna pull it out, go ahead and get that put in and keep moving along. Don't you guys just love slip joints? I know I do. They're fun. Really fun. Luckily I got a tool for that. One-handed. That's all it takes. I was looking at the AC belt and I just had kind of a crazy idea. I know from working on LS3 Camaros, of course I knew before, but I've worked on LS3 Camaro SS, which you've seen before. And they have the same drive system as a Trailblazer SS. And so I got to thinking about the stretch belt for the AC, and I went ahead and ordered one because I think it's going to fit. I looked up the sizes and everything, and it looks like it's right. So this is the part number right here. It's a Gates K040355SF. It's a 36-inch belt, which by the part number should be a 35.5, but it says in the spec sheet that's a 36. But I just wanted to show you guys this. So basically, what I did is I took the stock tensioner off and got this stretch belt. I'm trying to get some light. All right. So basically what I did is I took the stock tensioner off, and the main thing that prompted this is the tensioner was actually bad, and I was gonna replace it, and I got to thinking about the belt, and so I wanted to try this. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna start the belt around the AC side. Like, in order to get the belt on, first of all, you slip the right side back behind the main pulley. Even on the stock belt, you have to slip this side back behind there and then put that side on the compressor, and then put your tensioner down and slip the belt up on the tensioner. For the stretch belt, they say you need a special tool, but what I always do is I start the belt on the AC compressor pulley, and I get it started on the top. And what you're going to do is put your right hand on this side and hold it on the pulley, and just take you a 1/2-inch ratchet with a 24mm socket and just roll the engine around, and you know, you can roll it right on there. Now you do have to keep in mind that, you know, the bottom of the pulley is off, so you're gonna have to keep checking this side over here to make sure it's not jumping off. That normally I have to kind of slide it back on this side, you know, a couple of times. If you don't, you know, the belt will just pop off the AC pulley. So but anyway, once you play with it for a minute, you know, it's really not that hard to get it on there. All right guys, it's approximately 48 seconds later, and the belt fit perfect. So all you have to do is get a stretch belt. It's a 2000, you can look it up for a 2010 Camaro SS. It's an LS3 car. So as long as it's the SS, LS3, they may all be the same, but that's what I looked it up for. And you know, I just gave you guys the belt part number. But as you can see, it's on there nice and snug. You know, it's nice and tight. Not too tight, but you know, with a bigger cam or any kind of aftermarket setup where you're revving the engine a little bit higher or anything like that, you always run the chance of the AC belt hopping off. And you know, I don't know if it's happened to you, but it is it's a common problem with Silverados and Trailblazer SS's and other stuff with this V8 setup with that little tiny tensioner. This is the tensioner I'm talking about right here. And you know, not only does this tiny little bearing in here wear out really quick, you can see this one's got a lot of play in it. It sounds terrible. But the spring and stuff inside the actual tensioner gets weak over time too. And even if you put a new pulley on here, the AC belt can still keep jumping off. And a lot of times it's just because the spring is worn out. So if you are having that trouble and you don't want to try the stretch belt, don't just replace the pulley on this thing. Go ahead and replace the whole thing, because even if you put a new pulley on it, you can still have the same problem. So that's what I actually did on my wife's Saab 97X. You know, it kept hopping off, and I had replaced the pulley, so I turned back around and put a new tensioner on it, and it stopped jumping off. But now I'm going to be putting a stretch belt on it, and I'm also going to be putting one on my Pro Charge Trailblazer. So this is awesome. I'm actually pretty excited about this. So now I will also mention that some of the AC belts are a little bit different size, like some of the Silverados and some other ones that may use a slightly different bracket or something. So you may want to, you know, pay attention to the size of your stock belt versus this one. But being that it's a stretch belt, I think you got a little bit of play. You know what I mean? So I think this belt would probably work on, you know, maybe as long as it's really close, I think it'll work because it'll stretch out, and you know, I think it'll work fine. But the stock Trailblazer SS belt is 37 1/8 according to the spec sheet, and this belt is a 36 stretch. So if you go 1.1/8 smaller than whatever your AC belt size is, roughly 1.1/8, that should take care of it on this style of drive. So anyway, I just figured I'd throw that in there because this is pretty awesome right here. All right, guys, got the wiring hooked back up, got the main drop belt put back on. Everything under the truck is 100% complete. So like the exhaust, I got the shift linkage put back together, O2 sensors, like it's 100% done underneath. So all I really got left now is you know, I hooked the battery up. I got to put the computers back in, the TCM and the ECM, and you know, basically like the radiator and the washer tank and the intake pipe and the AC. I got to put the AC line back in. I got you know, a box of seals somewhere. I'll find them and put new seals on everything. You know, get the AC system vacuum down and go ahead and charge it up too. And heater hoses and just a few little things, you know. So hopefully in about, I'm gonna say probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, this should all be done. So at that point, I'll go ahead and connect to it with HP tuners and start reading the tune. And it'll probably take me, I don't know, probably about 30 minutes or so to build a good solid bass tune. And hopefully we'll be ready for the first start. So I guess I'll time lapse putting the rest of this stuff together, and then we will get to the first start here shortly. This thing several times, and everything is 100% done except for vacuuming down and charging the AC. So I just figured I'd show you guys. There's the hoses for the transmission cooler I added in, intake, everything's hooked up, plugged in, transmission fluids filled up. Of course, once it runs and warms up, I'm going to top it off. And everything's done underneath, as I stated earlier. So Got the cooling system filled up pretty close to full. I'm sure some air will come out, but it should be pretty well flushed out. Went ahead and got the tune uploaded and made some changes and got that downloaded into the truck. So we're ready to test fire it. So you know, hopefully the tune's close enough. It should be close enough for it to crank up and give us some chop. But I guess we'll see here in a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera up, turn the key. What was it showing? About 55 pounds of oil pressure. So so far everything is looking really good. So we'll make some changes with the tune and we'll try it again. AC's working good. I'm about to unhook this stuff and take it for a spin. Man, this thing feels good. Alright, here we go. brakes actually didn't. I mean, they felt really good. Park throttle, so after I drive around a little bit, make sure the fueling looks good. We'll see how she shifts wide open. So far, everything feels great. Adjust the shift cable a little bit. It won't quite go all the way in the first, but that's no big deal. It probably got a little off when I added the shift bushing or something, because it was tied together before because the shift bushing was broken on the shift linkage, so I replaced that. So probably just need a little adjustment. Make sure the neutral safety switch is just right, or the range switch. Speedometer is working good. Driveshaft is nice and smooth. I can still hear that chop chop back there. Let me switch over to graph. Yeah, my screen's dirty. Let's see. Fuel's not looking bad at all. That's crazy. Under 3%. Another perk to using this cam that I like so much. I've tuned a few other Trailblazers with it, and so I was able to copy the fueling and the timing and everything over into this tune, you know, to build the base tune. And aside from a couple of little tweaks, this thing's pretty daggone close. I mean, we're showing under, it's like 1.6% on the long-term fuel trims, and it's pulling fuel, so that's perfect. If it was adding fuel, you know, that'd be different, but she's actually pulling 1.5% of fuel, so we're right in the ballpark, fellas. This thing sounds good, it feels good. The second gear shift, I'm gonna have to turn it down some, because it definitely hit a little bit harder than I'd like it to. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I'm gonna definitely need to turn that thing down some. Because as this wideband breaks in a little more, it's gonna bite even more. So I'm gonna have to definitely soften that up. But we don't need to be barking gears. I know I talked about that in my last video, but hard shifts are not good for transmissions. You want good line pressure, but you want good line pressure, and you want really fast shifts. You don't want hard shifts, you just want fast shifts. Big difference. Hard shifts break parts. she's running good. Tune's dialed in, and you know, everything's, you know, it's running real smooth. Got a nice pull to it. So I really appreciate you guys watching. I know this has been kind of a long, you know, video and series, to be honest with you. But you know, hopefully I brought you guys some information that you can use that'll help you out to work on your own vehicle. The next video is going to be on Tony's lowering kit, on installing that kit. So I'm going to probably get a little more in depth on the details of how to put that lowering kit in. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely subscribe and be on the lookout for it. Of course, you got to hit the bell if you want to see it. You know, see the notification for it. YouTube don't automatically show you content, you know, if you don't hit the bell. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time.